People say chain letters are harmless because they ask for belief. This one doesn't care if you believe in it. It only cares whether you finish reading. Emily Hart found the envelope on a Wednesday that felt unfinished. The sky was a dull, unmoving gray. Rain hung in the air without committing. The street outside the duplex was quiet enough that every sound felt exposed. The mailbox held the usual clutter. Bills, grocery ads, a flyer for a service she'd never heard of, and one envelope that didn't belong. It was heavier than paper should be, thick, tired stock, yellowed like it had already passed through too many hands. No return address, no familiar stamp. Her name was written in ink pressed so hard it scarred the paper. Emily Hart. She stood there longer than she meant to, rain dotting her sleeves, a thin discomfort threading its way up her spine. Then she told herself not to be dramatic and took it inside. Cynthia was already home, seated at the kitchen table with her laptop and a mug of tea she'd forgotten to drink. The radio murmured quietly from the counter, filling the space with harmless noise. "Mail?" Cynthia asked. Emily tossed the stack down. Mostly garbage. She hesitated, holding up the envelope. "This one's weird, though." "Open it," Cynthia said. Emily tore it open. The sound was sharp, too loud for such thin paper. Inside was a single sheet, folded cleanly in half. No greeting, no signature, just words written carefully, deliberately. "This letter has been sent to you for a reason. Read every word. Do not decide until you do." Emily smiled despite herself. Wow, starting strong. She skimmed. 7 days, 3 copies. Send them on or suffer consequences that were described just vaguely enough to feel intentional. At the bottom was a list of names, some crossed out, some left untouched. Cynthia leaned in. "That handwriting's the same all the way down." "It's a chain letter," Emily said. "Someone's bored and nostalgic." She folded the page and dropped it into the trash without ceremony. "There," she said. "Crisis averted." Cynthia didn't smile. That night, Emily dreamed of mail. Not letters being delivered, letters waiting. They filled her childhood home from floor to ceiling, stacked so tightly the walls bowed. Envelopes slid free when she moved, whispering against one another as they fell. She woke before dawn with the unmistakable feeling of being observed. The house was still. In the kitchen, the trash can lid was open. The letter lay on top, flat, uncreased, dry. Emily stared at it until the radio clicked on by itself, filling the silence and breaking the moment. She told herself Cynthia must have pulled it out. She didn't ask. By the second day, the house began to feel unreliable. Lights flickered, the microwave reset mid-cycle. Cynthia's phone alarm went off at 3:17 a.m. with a default tone she'd never used. That afternoon, Emily opened the drawer where she'd placed the letter. It wasn't there. She found it on her desk upstairs, laid out neatly, edges aligned with the grain of the wood. Her stomach tightened. She didn't touch it. On the third day, Cynthia slipped down the stairs. Not badly enough for a hospital, but hard enough to leave her shaken and quiet. She sat on the couch, icing her ankle, eyes fixed on nothing. "This is stupid," she said finally. "But, do you think that letter—" "No," Emily said too quickly. That night, Emily's phone rang. No caller ID. She answered before she could stop herself. All she heard was the slow, patient sound of paper being handled. Not crumpled, not rushed, like someone taking care. She hung up and didn't sleep. The letter waited for her on the pillow when she went to bed. By the fourth day, the house smelled wrong, like damp paper, like old books sealed in a basement too long. The letter changed. A new sentence appeared midway down the page, written in the same careful hand. Ignoring me is not the same as choosing. That evening, the knocking began. 3 slow taps on the front door. Emily opened it. No one stood there. Only 3 blank envelopes placed neatly on the porch, equal distance apart. On the 5th night, Cynthia woke screaming. She said she dreamed she was being folded, pressed flat, creased until she couldn't move. In the bathroom, she retched until something pale fell into the sink. A scrap of paper. On it was a name crossed out. Emily didn't recognize it. She didn't feel relieved. They tried to destroy the letter. Fire died the moment it touched the paper. Water soaked everything else and left the letter dry. Scissors cut it cleanly in half. They came back together in the trash, perfectly aligned. That was when Emily watched it move. The letter lay on the kitchen table between them. No wind, no vibration, no explanation. One corner lifted slowly, not sliding, not falling, folding. A shallow crease formed where none had been before. Ink darkened along the bend as the paper adjusted itself. Cynthia whispered Emily's name. The letter refolded again, deliberate, careful, as if correcting its posture. Then it stopped. A new line had appeared on the top. 1 day left. 2 blank spaces waited at the bottom of the page. They didn't argue anymore. The house felt crowded, like something was pacing just out of sight, waiting for night to finish falling. They copied the letter by hand, 3 copies each. Ink stained their fingers, their wrists cramped. With every completed page, the air felt thinner, lighter. But guilt settled heavy in Emily's chest. She wondered where the letter would go, who would open them, what names would be written next. They mailed the envelopes just before midnight. At 12 exactly, the smell vanished. The house went still. The letter disappeared. They lived. Emily and Cynthia moved out within the year. They never spoke about the letter again. They avoided mail whenever they could. Years later, Emily would swear she'd beaten it, until the day she checked her mailbox and found it empty. No bills, no flyers, nothing at all. That night she realized something she hadn't before. Every name at the bottom of the letter had once believed the chain ended with them. And somewhere, right now, an envelope is being opened. Not because the letter chose them, but because someone else chose to survive. Stories like this don't disappear. They just move on. If you want to hear more tales like this one, subscribe to Midnight Delight and join us again. New stories arrive every week. Just be careful what you open. Good night.